Add James Cook. What's up, everyone? It's Eric, aka Doc, coming at you from the Triple Play YouTube channel. Fantasy playoffs coming in the next month. Hopefully, everybody's team is doing well. And I'm going to tell you why I think James Cook is a good person to add, not only for this week, but could be a differential in the fantasy playoffs. And look, this is a couple Bills here, talking about a Bills running back today. But if you're trying to save some more Bills, make sure you go to the Fantasy Points website. They got a lot of great things from projections and rankings, research and news. You can look at some great minds in the industry that are really going to help you bring in the cheddar this year. And you can use code TriplePlay22 for 10% off. So if you're trying to win your leagues, I would definitely recommend doing that. But back to why I'm going to tell you to add James Cook. So looking at what's to like, he plays in a high-scoring offense. Anybody that watches football knows the Bills are explosive. They scored 281 points in 10 games, averaging about 28 points. That's second to Kansas City. On the season, he's averaging 5.8 yards per carry on 44 carries, which that's not a small sample size. And last week, he had 86 yards against the Browns. He had 11 carries, which tied a season high. He also had 2 targets. And the Bills, they're 7-3. They're fighting for the division. Actually, the Dolphins are leading the division right now. So they're going to need to win some games. They're not at any point of resting their starters like the Vikings might be, since they're already winning the division. But let's look at last year, what Bills running backs did in the playoffs, and specifically Devin Singletary, who is RB2, the RB2 to Rashad Penny in weeks 15 through 17. So we look at week 15, he had 16.6 points. And this is PPR scoring on 23 touches. Week 16, 18.8 points on 17 touches. Week 17, the championship for most leagues, 23 points on 23 touches. And week 18, which some people played, but he had 25.2 touches. He was the RB2 that week and finished with 21 touches again. But when you look prior to that, he only had 15 touches 2 times from weeks 1 to 14. So maybe the Bills are trying to establish the run game before playoffs. Also, keep in mind, Josh Allen is dealing with a UCL injury. I know we didn't talk about it last week because the Bills had that huge snowstorm coming, but that's not something that just went away. So maybe just to kind of ease off his arm a little bit, they lean a little bit more on the run. And look, he's the number 2, clear number 2 behind Devin Singletary. So obviously we never wish for injuries, but if something does happen, he's going to be the main guy. They traded Zach Moss before the deadline, and the guy they traded him for, Nyheim Hines, has 2 touches. He had 1 carry for -8 yards against the Browns, and then he had 1 reception for 9 yards the week before. But he's mostly been playing special teams, and he's making about $7 million this year. So it's not like they're paying him nothing. And when we look, there's not many free agent running backs available. Melvin Gordon just got cut yesterday, but he got cut for a reason, because he has fumbling issues. So are they really going to add him? I don't think so. I think this is the running back class the running back group they're going to stay with. And now just looking at the upcoming schedule, if you need a win this week, week 12, they play at Detroit, so they don't have to travel. And Detroit is allowing 28.2 points per game, which is most in the NFL. Now, when you look at the fantasy schedule, they play versus Miami week 15, who's allowed 24.1 points per game, which is 10th most in the NFL. Then the semifinals, week 16, they play at Chicago, who have allowed the fourth most rushing yards per game at 142.6. So maybe the Bills attack them through the ground. And then they play at Cincinnati week 17. And I didn't really put a note on here. Cincinnati's kind of in the middle of the pack of allowing points and rush. So I'm not going to say that that's necessarily a strength. But if you get to that point and he's performing, you probably feel pretty confident maybe him rolling in your lineup, or injuries have happened. But now that we're going into week 12, I do think that there are some priorities, especially if you're going into this schedule. You want to handcuff your running backs. So, if you have Najee Harris, you want to get someone like a Jaylen Warren. Not necessarily that, but you want to make sure that someone that you spent early draft capital on, that you have their backup. And you want to look forward to players who can make an impact on the playoffs. Last year, like I said, the RB1 was Rashad Penny. The RB2 was Devin Singletary. Both weren't drafted in the early rounds or at all. So people like that do exist on the waiver wire. But you also want to make sure you have a good defense or special teams for the playoffs, just making sure you have something a little bit favorable. Because, look, we have 3 weeks left in the regular season. If you're fighting for a playoff spot, obviously you have to make sure you're putting out your best lineup each week. But if you can afford to kind of look ahead, then these are some things that I would prioritize. But for all of those reasons, I'm saying James Cook should be a waiver wire add. Now, from a fab perspective, I would say maybe toss out 5-10%. If you really need a running back and it's thin, I'd go 20 and above. But hopefully you get him. Hopefully he makes a difference. And for everybody that watches Triple Play, we appreciate that. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.